Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're jumping right into a commentary that digs into a really pointed question. Why exactly did Bill and Hillary Clinton reject a congressional subpoena? We're going to walk through the arguments that were presented and see what they suggest about where American justice stands right now. So this is the heart of the whole issue. A congressional subpoena goes out to the Clintons, connected to the Epstein investigation, and they officially say no. The commentary we're looking at today is all about trying to answer that one simple question: why? Okay, to really get our heads around the commentator's perspective, we're going to break their argument down into 5 steps. We'll start with the rejection itself, then we'll deconstruct the letter they sent, explore what's argued to be the real motive, and finally, see how this all ties into a much broader call for equal justice. First things first, the event that kicked all of this off, this entire commentary really stems from that one moment: the Clintons officially refusing to comply with a congressional subpoena for their testimony. And what's fascinating right off the bat is that the commentary points out how this rejection was framed. It wasn't presented as just, a simple legal defiance. No, the letter positioned it as a principled, almost moral stand, a fight for the country against what they called government overreach. So, if they framed this as a moral stand, what were the actual reasons they gave? Well, this is where the commentator starts to pick apart the letter's claims, one by one. Okay, so the letter's first big claim is that the Justice Department has been weaponized. The commentator immediately finds the timing on this, well, a little curious. They argue that this concern just wasn't being raised when similar investigations were targeting their political opponents in the past. Next on the list, a concern over threats to free speech. The commentary pushes back on this pretty hard, drawing a parallel to what it describes as similar pressure tactics used to silence people who dissent on other hot-button issues, like climate change. And ultimately, the commentator argues that this whole list of grievances in the letter, from deploying troops to other pretty broad statements, it all just seems really disconnected from the actual reason they were subpoenaed in the first place, which was the Epstein investigation. So, if the commentator dismisses all the justifications in the letter, what do they think the real motive is? Well, the analysis points to one specific thing. This brings us right to the core accusation here. The argument is that the letter is just a smokescreen. So the big question is, what does this analysis claim it's all hiding? And there it is. According to the commentary, this rejection isn't about some grand fight for America at all. It's about avoiding questions related to one person, and one person only, Jeffrey Epstein. This, the analysis argues, is the real reason. And to really hammer this alleged connection home, the commentary brings up these very specific, memorable details, like that now infamous rumored portrait of Bill Clinton address, supposedly hanging in Epstein's home, as evidence of a close relationship that absolutely warrants questioning. Now the commentary kind of zooms out. It starts to argue that this act of defiance isn't just happening in a vacuum. It claims the Clintons are basically using a playbook that, from this perspective, their own political allies helped write. And to make this point, the commentator lays out this timeline. You can really see the argument they're building. It starts with the Russiagate investigations targeting political opponents. Then you see figures like Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon actually being jailed for defying subpoenas. And that brings us to today, where the Clintons do the same thing, but, as the commentator points out, they frame it as a noble, principled stand. So this all leads us to the commentary's conclusion, and it frames the whole issue not just as partisan bickering, but as a fight for a really core principle of the entire American legal system. The analysis lays out this vision for what it calls equal justice under the law. It's a system where facts come before consequences, where there's no immunity for your friends or extra punishment for your enemies. The core idea is that accountability should apply to everyone, period, no matter how powerful they are. And that really brings the argument to its central point. This subpoena rejection is being presented as a symptom of a much, much bigger problem. The analysis is really asking a tough question. Does America have one system of justice for all, or are there two, one for the powerful and one for everybody else? And the commentary leaves us with this final, pretty provocative thought. It suggests that when people lose faith in the idea of equal justice, a nation of laws is at risk of becoming nothing more than just, as they put it, factions fighting over who controls the machinery of punishment. Leaves you with a lot to think about.